Have I ever mentioned that according to the Bible, cities are evil? God never intended us to live in asphalt jungles. Why, just look at Cain and Abel. Cain murders his brother, and what's the first thing he does when he's kicked out? Build a city. That should prove my point.
Anyway, Kolchak is praising the architecture of his chosen city of Chicago, after a fashion.
The city of Chicago sparkles with architectural monuments to man's achievement, his artistic aspirations, his quest for the truth, his respect for the law.
And they'll stand for, what, maybe 50 years? We can all hear the ancient Greeks and Romans saying, how quaint.
There is a theory that dying institutions erect their own mausoleums before they die. This particular monument was to be a hospital and a research center, dedicated to extending the life of man, improving the quality of that life. It succeeded instead in introducing a new horror, a new way of death.
What a coincidence. A bunch of us were just saying the other day that all the old ways are getting mundane and boring. Whoever or whatever this new horror is, don't do us any favors, dude.
I became involved just after the hospital's completion, covering the dedication. The building's construction had been a little rocky. 2 Indian high steel workers had fallen off the top floors, but that was quickly forgotten and never explained. No matter, now it was dedication time and everything was roses. It was all I could do to stay awake.
You can't blame him. He's an action reporter. He likes stories that draw him in like a good mystery novel. We all know this dedication is going to be a bunch of guys in suits praising each other, praising the building, and basically saying, hail us, we're great.
Good afternoon. Mr. Kolchak?
Yeah?
This kit has been carefully prepared by the Public Relations Department. It contains all of the general information about the hospital, plus a commemorative coin. If you would like for me to get you a drink, I'd be happy to do so.
That's very good. You remembered that all by yourself, didn't you? You want to be an actress, right?
You can tell?
Yeah.
Good. I'm just doing this for the exposure. It's difficult for someone just starting to get exposed.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
And of course, the suits have their supporting staff, the opportunists. It's good to see everybody's here.
Listen, anything in here that I should know that I don't?
Gentlemen and ladies, the bar is closed.
Yes, the barge is closed.
Remember that drink she offered to get you? Never mind. The "you're great, no, you're great" speeches are about to begin.
On my left is Dr. Ralph Carey, the medical director of the hospital. And on my right, Walter Green, the gentleman who built this fine facility.
I threw that in so we know who those 2 guys are. They'll be key players in the story. Nobody seems to care who the guy in the middle is. Meanwhile, down in the basement, something actually interesting is happening. As I said, something actually interesting is happening here. That guy is flipping breakers on and off because it's fun to do. They don't actually do anything, it's a fidget wall for him. I think they're trying to tell you to stop doing that. It makes them itch.
We're running a little short of time, so we will exclude the tour of the lower level as it's listed in your program.
If Kolchak had been played by Neil Patrick Harris, he'd already be saying, challenge accepted.
Is already in use. We already have some patients, and you are about to see the most modern facility in existence.
Ictinus and Callicrates, the architects of the Parthenon, are looking at it and saying, whoop-de-doo.
Nurse Eisen, pathology. Do you enjoy your work?
Oh, yes. A well-performed autopsy is a joy forever.
She doesn't have much to say. They have strict instructions about the press.
Oh, relax. It's all right. It does that a lot. I've reported it. I suppose they'll fix it eventually.
It's supposed to be brand new, isn't it?
They said it takes a while to get everything working.
Yeah, well, I feel that way myself some mornings. Why is it so hot down here?
It's the air conditioner.
Air conditioner, huh? There's cold air coming out of there.
Not enough of it, apparently. Nobody can find a source for the heat.
This what caused the power failure?
I don't know. I'm just a broom pusher.
Uh-huh. Look at those cracks.
Sometimes if you pile drive to the lake bottom, you can have a settlement crack of that type.
Settlement cracks. Do you see a lot of those around here?
Nope. My foreman told me.
Ah, where's your foreman?
Don't know.
What's his name?
I don't know.
What's your name?
I don't know.
Give me that one more time. I think I missed something. For basic settling cracks, there seem to be a lot of them. Either the foundation isn't as solid as they thought, or something else is causing them. And what was that?
I don't know.
What's that thing you're cleaning the floor with?
I don't know.
The place is shaking enough that it sounds like the whole thing is going to come down on your head. Why aren't you running?
I don't know.
Your angle on the hospital dedication, Carl. How did you come up with it?
Oh, a little, research and, imagination.
Some angle. 2 pages condemning the lack of geriatric facilities.
Kolchak says it's a reasonable angle. Lots of older people have trouble finding adequate care. They're upset and they're organized.
Really? What do they call it? Wrinkle power?
That's disgusting.
They call it gray power. And we're tough. We're standing up for our rights.
Well, don't stand up too quickly, Emily.
I'm all right. Sorry, Mr. Vincenzo, I may have come on a little too strong at the first, but I can't stand to see senior people glossed over. See if I can soften it up a bit.
Well, that's not the point. I assign the stories.
The point is, Carl was supposed to find some way to make the dedication ceremony interesting, which is pretty well impossible. So he chose an angle that might be interesting. Miss Emily was his research, so they both did you a favor, see? You don't see.
What is all this?
This?
Yeah,
Oh, these are blueprints for the hospital.
the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you get them?
I stole them.
Kolchak, you stole the plans?
Mr. Vincenzo.
Yes.
Telephone. It's urgent.
With that distraction removed, Carl calls an architect that he did a favor for once and says, I need your help. Tony has different ideas.
There was a shooting in Scorpino's restaurant. 2 men with shotguns just blasted little Augie Cesare and his 2 bodyguards. Looks like a turf war, Carl.
Well, they're always shooting at each other.
You don't seem too interested, Carl.
Oh, I'm on a story. And you always say, one story at a time, Carl, one story at a time. Besides, there's never any news in those gang killings.
You don't think there's anything printable here?
Nah, nobody ever talks. Listen, the last one I covered was typical. Of the 30 people in the restaurant, 20 of them claimed to be in the men's room, and the rest of them claimed never to have heard one of the 18 shots that were fired.
Hey, Nitpick,
Sir Reginald Cornelius Cadwallader Nitpick IV at your service.
can you give me a good example of what manipulation looks like?
Why, certainly. Please observe.
All right, I'll cover it. But it's a waste of time, as you'd know if you'd ever done one.
If I've done one, how do you think I got behind that desk?
I don't know how.
I was top crime reporter in this town when it was important, when it was dangerous. If you weren't careful, you could wind up under a Pierce arrow.
Oh, boy, that was a long time ago, Tony. Yeah, you've probably forgotten the how. No, I'll do it.
No. I'm gonna show you how to dig out a story.
That, my good man, is a fine example of manipulation in its purest form. Those wishing to learn this fine skill would do well to study it thoroughly.
I have to agree, it was beautiful. Kolchak and his architect head to the hospital.
Good evening. Hey, you look tired. You been getting enough rest? You gotta sleep some more. That's the problem with the world today. Tension, anxiety, sleeplessness, insecurity. Medical enemies 1, 2, 3, and 4.
If you look like you belong somewhere and act like you know what you're doing, most of the time nobody will question you. I used to love Lawrence Block's books about Bernie Rodenbauer, the professional burglar. He always said if you need to case a house in your neighborhood, just carry a clipboard and look as if you know where you're going. Overalls can help with the illusion, but they aren't necessary. Here, all it took was a stethoscope and a few nice words. Case in point, as I like to say.
You're right. There is a big problem here. And I don't think it's just in this section. I saw a couple of walls back there that looked like they'd been refinished.
So what do you think's causing it?
You know, first I'd get a sample of concrete and have it tested.
What if it's not the concrete?
Well, we'll drill a hole through the wall and look for either poor quality steel or not enough of it.
That's not likely. Carl already checked on the financing behind this place, and everybody involved is squeaky clean. It's doubtful anybody did something shady.
What if the steel's okay?
What do you want from me?
What if the steel is okay?
Well, then have someone check to see if the geologist goofed. And if that's not the case, look for a geothermal leak under the foundation. And with this heat, that's a real possibility.
Will you put all that in writing?
No.
At least it gives Kolchak something to work with. Now, if he just knew how to work it.
What the hell is that?
That's something that warrants a lot more investigation. Where you going? I can't. You're on your own. Wait for
me! Oh, you dirty booger. I think he just lost any chance of Carl ever doing him another favor. At least this thing seems fairly harmless. Whatever it is, it looks like it just wanted to turn off the lights.
Nurse Eisen to the pathology lab. Nurse Eisen to the pathology lab.
You? What are you doing here?
Hi there, Miss Nurse Eisen.
You had me paged.
That's right. There's something very strange going on in this hospital, and I thought that you might care enough to help me.
She's trying to stay calm and stoic and ignore him, but nobody can hold out on Carl Kolchak for long.
I'm afraid it's going to take more than an engineer.
Oh?
I don't know. There's just no explanation for what's been going on around
Well, then
here.
what has been going on around here?
Like this afternoon, a patient in a heart-lung machine was horribly killed. And this is an earlier case. Would you like to see for yourself?
I get the feeling she's been ordered to keep quiet, but this is the sort of thing that you have to tell somebody before you lose your mind.
Yeah.
This morning, this was a healthy young man, a staff electrician. He was found after the power failure in the hall. First, we thought he was electrocuted, and then we started an autopsy.
Oh, so what happened? What was the result? So what?
Mr. Kolchak, all of these people had some connection with electrically operated equipment.
She's scared. You can't blame her. They have tons of electrical equipment in a pathology lab, and she probably operates most of it.
For the last time, Dr. Carey will not see any reporters today, and he has no comment on anything. Dr. Hartfield, go right in.
Thank you. Doctor?
As far as I can tell, there is no precedence for this in the annals of medicine. This tar-like substance is all that was left of the blood in the patient's body.
What is the content of that substance, Doctor?
See for yourself.
He's bluffing his way along nicely, and what he hears is kind of chilling.
That's incredible.
Dr. Hartfield.
Amazing. Virtually no plasma at all. I've never seen such a concentration of blood cells.
What happened to the plasma and what caused it? That's what Dr. Kolchak wants to know.
At first, it seemed to be a massive clotting, an acute case of polycythemia. But obviously, it was much, much more than that.
Yes.
You're Dr.
Kolchak.
Oh, yes.
Dr.
Now, gentlemen, please.
How do you do?
Detective Webster.
That's it for Dr. Kolchak. After the detective gives him a forceful escort to the door and beyond, his next stop is a construction site.
Fact, there had been no documented irregularities in the way the new hospital had been built. But, item, the generally reliable Indian high steel workers had left the job last October after several mysterious accidents. I found the same Indian crew now hard at work on the Starrett building on Michigan Avenue. The foreman told me as much as he could, but the high steel workers talked only through their shaman, or medicine man, Jim Elkhorn.
Yes, we still said Indian in 1974. So did the American Indians. It wasn't until much later that the word started to become taboo, and with good reason. We're literally on the other side of the world from India, so why perpetuate Columbus's fantasy? People finally settled on Native Americans, which is still wrong because everybody migrated here from somewhere else. There's no such thing as a Native American. I like to say first Americans because they got here first. It also has fewer syllables, so it's easier to say.
I'm just trying to do you a service. You left your hairbrush and your platform shoes at my place, and I figured maybe you wanted them, Valerie. It's the oldest salesman's trick in the world. You deliberately forget your hat, and then you have an excuse to come back. You know what I mean?
Sorry, he's into Valerie's, not Carl's. To put it mildly, Jim is what we euphemistically call a womanizer. The funny thing about that is, when a woman hustles multiple men, we don't call her a manizer. We have much more colorful terms for her. Why is that?
Valerie, I'm gonna have to hang up because I'm just not used to that sort of language.
He's a construction worker. He does the high steel. I'm sure nobody uses off-color language up there, so don't assault his delicate little virgin ears.
Yeah, call Kolchak INS. You Jim Elkhorn? Listen, I'd like to know why you pulled your men off that job at the Lakefront Hospital last fall. Was it because of unsafe working conditions you pulled them off?
It's tribal business. I don't discuss that with reporters or outsiders.
Your phone's ringing.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, Melinda.
You can talk to him as long as you keep it clean. He's sensitive about that, you know.
Listen, before I say goodbye, can I step into your trailer and forget my hat?
No, I'm not tied up, darling. Hang on a second, would you?
What happened to that hospital? How did those high steel workers die?
Matchemanedo.
What?
Matchemanedo, he killed my men.
Tracking down information about the real Matchemanedo myth is difficult because the history of the belief is kind of jumbled. Some tribes in the area believed in two spirits, Kitchemanedo, the good spirit, and Matchemanedo, the evil spirit. But some sources say this developed after the introduction of Christianity. I'm not sure how that works or what the sources are for that, but other first American sources say the belief goes way back before the Europeans made a mess of everything. I'll talk more about it as we go along because right now all Kolchak has is a really weird name.
Claudia Granoff, age 22. The little bit of movement she retained in her right hand wasn't even enough to let her wipe her own forehead, and the sudden heat was beginning to get to her.
She's quadriplegic. We won't find out how she got that way. It appears to be fairly recent.
Claudia couldn't sleep. She was too concerned over what was going to become of her life.
That is nurse malpractice. There's no excuse for it. If you leave the room, you put the call button in her hand. You know she has trouble moving that hand, so you put the button where all she has to do is twitch a finger to call you. In the real world, I'd demand that nurse be arrested. On the other hand, if the nurse had been in the room when that happened, Nurse Eisen would have two bodies to deal with. It's still malpractice. Hey, I'm married to a nurse. I know these things. We may not want to know how he got the guy's lab coat.
Here you are. Thank you.
Once again, if you look like you know what you're doing and act like that's how it's supposed to be, you can get away with a lot. I've never done anything that outrageous, but I've come close.
Doesn't it make you nervous with all this going on down here in a hospital full of people over your head? Huh? I mean, if anything goes wrong, you're going to take the rap, you know.
I beg your pardon?
Well, unless, on the other hand, of course, this hospital is built over a geothermal fault.
Geothermal fault?
Yeah, or bad concrete,
that's ridiculous.
or structural miscalculations, or whatever it is. I suggest you stop scraping and patching these walls and start evacuating the hospital.
I think I'll start the evacuation with you.
He's not a patient. He's just the proximate cause of several pains in the ass.
Officer!
You can never find a cop that need that.
Officer!
Egad, he's right. Carl slips away to the pathology lab and Nurse Eisen.
Seems there's been another strange death, this time in the orthopedic ward.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, pretty much the same as the other one. All the vital organs of the patient just seized up. And an electric orthopedic bed just went crazy and blew up.
Any leads at all?
None, and I'm scared.
Yeah, well, so are they, but they're not honest enough to admit it. Are you scared enough to go along with me on an idea?
No, it doesn't involve going to his place. The fact is, he's been a perfect gentleman so far, so she feels safe going along and finding out what he has in mind.
Jim!
So now you're gonna bug me at home, huh? Look, I'm right in the middle of trying to fix something.
Jim Elkhorn, Janice Eisen.
Hello.
Janice is a technician over at Lakefront Hospital, and I just thought that you might be able to help us.
He hasn't shown any boy-girl interest in her, but he knew Jim would. Let's put that to work.
Janice Eisen, this is Diane Lanier from next door. Diane, this is Charles
Kolchak.
Hello. Hello. I feel like we're interrupting.
Oh, no. Diane has got a raisin bread problem, and I don't know why, but for some reason it gets stuck in
No,
there.
it's my English muffins that get stuck.
Right. Look, could I fix you people a drink?
Oh, maybe later.
You were just about to get me a vodka on the rocks.
Why do I get the feeling Diane's never going to get her vodka or her rocks?
Are you sure, Charles?
About Matchemanedo. Now, is that any relationship to Quasimodo?
You have a master's degree in business administration, and you still do construction work?
Jim, Matchemanedo.
Matchemanedo. He was called the bear god, Charles, and I don't really know why since he was invisible.
I haven't been able to verify that part of it. It's possible the bear god thing was made up for the show. If that's the case, we'll find out why in due course.
It's a question of economics, Janice. You see, High Steel pays $40,000 a year, and that thing over there was worth $16,500, and part of that was written off against public relations.
Don't I know it? I have a master's degree in Old Testament, and I couldn't find a job at all. Everybody wanted PhDs, but I knew PhDs who were pumping gas, this was back when everybody was like Oregon, because they couldn't find jobs. I finally decided PhD stands for dis. I became a freelance writer, which led to teaching computer courses, which led to working on people's computers, which led to being computer savvy enough to be able to do this, which pays at least as well as any of that other stuff I did and is a lot more fun. Oh, I've made my contributions to Bible scholarship. I've presented papers, published studies, even wrote a reference book on the Dead Sea Scrolls. It got even better when the internet came along. I call the internet the great equalizer. Everybody's the same here. On the boards, nobody asks about your degrees. They look at what you say. I love it. I don't do that much anymore. I'm focused on this and my music. Plus, most of those guys are your basic stuffed shirts who have trouble speaking plain English. You folks are a lot more fun.
Now,
Carl said that you're a medicine man.
Yeah, I'm a shaman. It's a hereditary title, but I don't practice it much anymore since we got Blue Cross on our last contract.
Janice!
Oh, yes. Well, what about this bear god,
Matchemanedo?
That's right, Miss Lanier.
Carl can't help himself. He has to be patronizing to somebody. It's probably genetic. He inherited it from Tony.
Oh, well, Matchemanedo always lived in the general area of where the hospital foundation is now. And he was there before the Illinois tribe. He was there before the Iroquois.
Iroquois?
He was even there before Chicago became Chicago.
Chicago?
And he was referred to by some early French explorers, too.
For the most part, he's giving it to us authentically. Several early explorers and some early Jesuits mentioned the creature in their writings, though they usually talked about him and Kitchemanito.
Hey, do you believe any of this?
Sounds good as most of the stuff I've been getting.
Well, anyway, to pacify Matchemanedo, my people used to drive buffalo over his place, and he would eat them, I guess. Which is a pretty neat trick if you don't have a stomach.
Well, that turns mine.
Diane, I think your muffin's stuck in your spring again.
Stuff the muffin.
I think that's what he was hoping for.
If Matchemanedo really does exist, why haven't we heard from him in recent years? I mean, why has he remained dormant?
That lake is shifted, and that land was underwater until it was reclaimed. So maybe the water has had some effect. I don't know.
You mentioned energy.
Yeah?
Now, the dead patients all had the plasma congealed in their bodies. Now, plasma is practically pure protein, and protein is pure energy.
And there is no other form of energy purer than electricity.
They'll head to the hospital to see if they can find this monster, though Jim has an ulterior motive.
And then they cook it all right in the melon.
It sounds exquisite.
C'est magnifique. The name of this place is Wu's Great Wall of Peking, and it's only about 45 minutes from here. So if you get off work at 11 o'clock, we are in good shape.
Yeah, well, give my regards to Chef Wu, will you? Goodbye, Janice.
Janice?
This is man's work. She'll head to her lab.
You know what your problem is, Charles? You have no time for the amenities.
Thank you, Dr. Brothers.
If you don't know who Dr. Joyce Brothers was, she was the pioneer of television pop psychology. At this time, she had her own talk show where she read letters from viewers and answered their questions. She even has a cameo in Police Squad. And she probably would tell him the same thing Jim did. Lighten up, dude.
Oh, boy. Well?
What do you expect me to do?
Who knows? Let's try doing what your ancestors used to do.
I don't think it's gonna work.
Well, try. Anything's worth trying.
Do you understand mechanical stress at all?
No.
Do you have any idea the force that was required to split this concrete like this?
No.
Yeah, well, it's too darn big to be driven off by any dancing.
Under pressure from Kolchak, he'll try a little bit, but he's sure it won't work.
You put that thing where you get a close-up of my foot.
Right, Chief.
That's something you definitely do not want. William Smith was an award-winning bodybuilder, arm wrestler, and boxer. He competed in downhill skiing, football, and kung fu. In fact, he was supposed to play Kane, the lead character in the series Kung Fu, but the producer decided he was too big and muscular for the role. Considering his nickname was Big Bill, I don't know what made anybody think that. But he wasn't the big dumb oaf. He was working on a doctorate when he got spotted and went into acting. He's in several halls of fame for bodybuilding, fitness, and related activities. From what I've read, it's all well deserved. If he ever did punt Kolchak, our pal Carl would be bouncing off the ceiling.
Oh, look, it didn't work for my grandpa, and it's not gonna work for me now.
No, come on. Try.
Shh. I heard some.
What if he comes out? We've got no buffalo.
Well, my grandpa told me about it, but I never thought I'd see it.
You're not seeing him now. You're seeing the effects of his presence. And whatever you sang, I think he took it as an insult. Oh no, that's the pathology lab. Where's Janice?
X-rays. I think our developing trays on the INS office fit these plates. Come on, grab them.
He figures a being of pure energy might be shedding enough to expose those plates. Maybe they can get a look at this thing. And why isn't anybody asking about Janice? She will never be mentioned again. Nobody seems to care. That's bad writing. She gave up everything to help Carl. Jim was asking her on a date, and suddenly they both forgot she existed. I don't buy it. When Carl saw that it was the pathology lab, in a real world, she would have been the first thing on his mind. I repeat, bad writing. And as usual, the female character gets the short end of the bad writing stick.
Yeah, that's it. Give me another one right there. Yeah, put that up on top.
If they can fit those together into some kind of coherent whole, they can get an idea what this thing looks like.
So that's Matchemanedo.
They may wish they had left well enough alone. Jim has done a lot of research on the critter and has loads of reference books that talk about its appearances. Carl noticed something.
Summer months.
Right, Kolchak. Look, I know what are summer months and what are winter months.
Yeah, but apparently so does Matchemanedo. I mean, there are no sightings in winter, right?
So he hibernates, what?
Like a bear.
Hey, Kolchak. Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So when the lake shifted, the cold water at that depth kept it winter year-round.
That's right. And then when they excavated the land, it heated it up, right?
Right.
How do we get a cold?
Moving the lake back isn't an option, I guess, and dropping the hotel into the lake would require too many cranes and snarl up traffic too badly. They need help with this.
This is why you called us, sir. To tell us to evacuate the hospital and turn it into a refrigerator because of some old legends.
Right.
And this absurdity.
Well, if it's all that absurd, you tell us how those patients died. I guess it would be too much to hope that you two have finished.
You're saying that Matchemanedo is pure energy, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, he just sort of breathes it in, magnifies it, and blows it out.
Yeah, it's kind of super energy. It's like overcharging your patients, which is not unusual for a hospital, I suppose.
That concludes today's episode of How to Lose the Room in One Sentence. I'm learning to love this series. Carl is so well written and so well played, you frequently want to smack him. And one other thing about him. The series calls him the Night Stalker, but he doesn't go looking for this stuff. It seems to find him, or else he just sort of stumbles onto it. He's the Night Stalker and Monster Hunter, but most of the time it's not by choice. And by the way, this conversation is over. Something is happening in the basement.
What's the matter?
Look at that.
What?
There's something in there.
What thing?
Some kind of a thing.
Oh, right. Thanks for clarifying.
Whatever it is, it looks like it's trying to get out. No, it's not trying to get out. No. It went in there. It's feeding on the cobalt. It's growing stronger. It's expanding. Where are you going? We've got to let it out of there.
By the looks of that wall, I don't think it needs your help. Told you. Kolchak has proven that Matchemanedo is real, and Green and the others are ready to evacuate the hospital. It's a gargantuan task, but it has to be done. And the public has to be informed.
Oh, now, don't give me that, friend. You've sliced bologna much thicker than this in your day. All right, spare me. Now, here's your press release. Due to a weakening in the hospital's foundation, the authorities have deemed it advisable to evacuate the hospital pending further investigation, et cetera, et cetera. Now, can you work with that?
We won't inform them of the truth, but the public has to be informed. Then again, he tried telling the real story. Due to an ancient evil spirit killing people and causing trouble, the hospital will be evacuated and frozen. All the newspapers put it on the comics page.
Now, what do you think you're doing with two of our best cameras?
I'm gonna hawk him. What do you think? Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. Listen, heavy truck's been rolling in and out of that hospital all day long today. I'm gonna find out what's on them. It's all very hush-hush.
Oh, so go and see. But leave the cameras for people who have some regard for expensive equipment. Need I remind you that within the last year, you completely ruined 2 cameras and the electric pencil sharpener?
I'm not sure why Tony even tries. Until he's ready to put a muzzle on Kolchak and lead him around with a leash, Carl isn't going to pay him any more attention than if he wasn't there. And it's worse.
I am going to fill this one with infrared film and this one with ultraviolet film. And then I am going to get an image, sir, of something that everybody else denies exists.
Infrared, ultraviolet. That means special film and processing. You're talking about mucho dollars, Carl. Wait a minute. What do you mean, something that everybody denies exists?
I am going to get a photograph of Matchemanedo, and you are going to publish it.
Photo of who?
He's a great energy force, an Indian...
Think about what you just said and who you said it to, Carl. Try telling him Matchemanedo is Spanish for matchmaker. It's one of those new computer dating services.
Who is Matchemanedo?
A Cuban. Carlos Matchemanedo. Yeah, he's a bantamweight fighter, and he's absolutely terrific. He's a real comer here. Put your money on it.
Okay, we'll go with that instead. And get out of here before Tony actually reads the bill for the film.
$40? Kolchak, come back here!
That's equivalent to about $250 today. At the hospital, workers are pumping liquid nitrogen into the ventilation system. The goal is to fill the basement. Carl has gone down there to try and get a picture of Matchemanedo and see what it's like to wade around in minus 320 degrees. I hope he got some good pictures because I don't think he's going to be taking any more. He's managing to hold it back while the liquid nitrogen spreads. It's here now, so he can let it take over. I want to know why his feet aren't frozen. The following week saw the premiere of Updike the Crusader. It lasted a whole episode.
Keep away. Oh, Carl, it's all right. Relax. Take it easy. Just relax.
It's you.
Yeah, it's me.
He was expecting Janice with an afterlife lawsuit for ignoring her.
I got something for you. Your film and tape. The film, ruined by the cold. All that money down the drain.
$40.
These came out, though. Don't ask me what they're supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Goodbye, Tony.
And that's it. No big battle, no big reveal. He chased it back with a fire extinguisher and the liquid nitrogen did the rest. He has the picture for all it proves. I'd give that to Jim and tell him to brush up on his dancing.
Lakefront Hospital won't be up much longer. It's coming down to make room for a new marina, one with deep channels of icy lake water.
So they are throwing the hospital into the lake. I stand corrected. Praising the base, the which not enough of it checked on the fine. When a woman holds any of that ever, slow down. Oh right, breathe at the comma, stupid. Hustle's multiple doesn't come out well as one word.